Tutorial is going to show you how to build an Angular application. So first, I look at my user interface design. I have a banner, I have a menu. I'm building all of this with Angular, Bootstrap, Node.js, and Mongo. Okay, so now I decide how I want my application to function. Well, I'm going to be changing the middle center pages while I have this sticky footer down here. So, loosely speaking, I need a single page application. It's an HTML page application. There needs to be some view area associated with the application. And I'm going to be doing certain things that, like I said, I just sent a markup fragment. So from an Angular point of view, basically what I have here is an index.jsp. Um, I have an ng app, which is the Angular application. I've got controllers. I've got a view inside the HTML page, which uses templates and controllers, and each page has its own template. Each page has its own state, controller, scope, etc. And the way I'm thinking about this is ng app is the whole single page app. There's scope there, it shares it with the children. I do have a main controller on the body tag, and that has I kind of view as a page scope, which is shared by all the children in the child scopes, etc. within the Angular app. And the way I'm thinking is, um, if I change anything in the child and I want it to propagate or broadcast up, I could do it several different ways. I have several different options, using services, using root scope, using $parent or whatever I may think. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to do. So it's first important to understand what you're trying to do. Now, how do I do that? First of all, one, use WebStorm, pay $12 a month. Two, download the Angular Seed application and try to understand what you're getting with that application. Okay, what I've noticed is that I got a bower.json file, which is a package manager for the client, which installs all your packages. Don't use it. It's good, but I don't use it. Okay, and the packages are used within the app directory, and they're put in a particular location. Not doing it. Okay. Uh, um, what I tend to do is within WebStorm, I create a project. I got my node modules for my node JS. I have my package JSON, which is installing my node files, modules, whatever. And in my app directory, I've got an Angular application. Okay. Uh, Angular application is defined in the index.html using an ng app. This is the name of my main module for my Angular application. It does the bootstrapping, it defines constants, it does configuration, etc. I am pointing to Angular on a common directory network, whatever you want to call it, so it gets cached locally within different regions. I'm constantly pushing out onto the cloud in production, so I try to keep my application as stable as possible using Bootstrap. And I also have my own custom styles that I do for with the application. Now, notice I do have a main module here, and it's defined by this application module right here. And what I want to discuss in this video is how to configure the node application. Okay. Now, this main module, which defines my single page application, does the it bootstraps in the following way. It says this is the main app, and this is the one that gets bootstrapped and does the initial configuration. These are dependency applications. This helps me with my router. These modules get loaded in addition, and those correspond to directories that I have here, um, um, which have their own templates, controllers, etc. Okay, but what we want to talk about right now is how this application gets configured. So the first thing it does is when you have this Angular directive here, is it looks for that code. And the way I load that code in is with the script tag here. So this module comes in first, and then you've got all your dependent modules being loaded afterwards. And don't get me wrong, I understand this is can be simplified a great deal. Okay, so now what else is really important here? Well, the other thing that's really important is what's happening inside the application code. Okay, so notice I do have a view tag here. And this is where the router is saying, okay, you got the view tag. This is an Angular directive. This is where I'm going to, when you click on the link, I'm going to put you, show you different template views. First, before I show the template view, I'm going to run the controller, define the scope, and then I'm going to bind the dynamic data of that controller to your view, etc. So getting back to what's really important here, what I was trying to show you is the configuration of the Angular app. First, I define my constants, where my service URLs are, where's my security service located, where's my images defined. I could narrow this down and simplify it, but the bottom line is I might need these different things. Then what I do is I could say, okay, my HTTP provider, since I'm pointing to Node.js and I have this CORS issue, I want to address that with the configuration. I do that in this step here. Then I say, well, maybe I want to introduce a decorator to the exception handler. Notice these configs, what they're doing is they're injecting providers. They're and modifying them or overriding them or whatever they may do, um, and they're not injecting services. Okay, if you want to inject a service or you want to do something, you can use the run method. You could define different values in your run method and root scope in your run method, which can be shared across your child scopes. But that's not what I do. The other thing I do, which is unconventional, but it works for me, and I've been building production apps for a while. The other thing I do is I define a main controller on the body tag. Uh, and the reason why I do that is it gives me scope, page scope. Okay, so the Angular app that I bootstrap gives me root scope. This gives me page scope, but it's a single page application, but its scope I have more control of. Why? Because in this particular controller, I have the ability to call web services, cache information, because the page is loaded and basically behind the scenes, Ajax is running making web service calls. I could get drop down data and I could get other types of data. I don't do that. Basically, what I do is I define my web service domain and maybe my Node.js service URL or whatever. I log them out, and then I make sure that my application is configured. Now, configuration can be done with services, with root scope. I chose using the main module and the and this main controller to do what I want. If I were to make 5 web service calls here, I could have more control over it in my main controller to cache certain information. And since it's be done asynchronously, it doesn't affect the front end of the app. Okay, so getting back to this, just to show you once more. I know this was a quick tutorial, but I just wanted to show you this is how the application runs. And if I wanted to view to see what's being logged, I think what I might have to do is run this again. Did anything happen? Refresh. And what you see is I'm logging certain information that's on startup. I'm seeing, oh, my main controller logged the URLs. Everything looks like it's working okay. And now I've went into the home. I've went into the home controller as I view the home page. Well, actually, every time I flip one of these pages, what I'm going to see is, the different controllers getting executed. And like I said, the controller gets executed, the template gets viewed with the dynamic data. There's not much dynamic here, but I do plan on doing dynamic. There is dynamic stuff happening, and I am calling web services and using Amazon mail server and stuff like that. So that's the end of this tutorial. I hope it helps you with configuring AngularJS applications and the